Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. I got a big one today. Woo! Yep, Connor talks Tennessee and South Carolina and the sign stealing and all that fun stuff that he did when he was having such a good time, when he was stealing everybody's signs and turning the Big Ten Conference on its head, getting people fired and all that great stuff, and affecting other teams outside the Big Ten.
In my opinion.
Now, for those of you that can't handle a little rough talk, this is not the video for you. Humongous, tell him.
Just walk away.
Yeah, you need to listen to Humongous, all right? It's been a little while since I had him on. He was on vacation. Had to bring him back for this video, though, because this might get a little rough. I can make no promises. So don't come in the comment section, oh, you were... No, you were warned. Now let's get into the show. All right, this is on X. This is a show that originated called Bunch Formation with Chris Vanini and David Ubben. And they had Connor on as a guest. So let's hear what Mr. Connor had to say.
I was not at the South Carolina game in 2022, but it's a very popular theory because obviously you guys did buy a ticket to the Tennessee game that you or someone associated with you had given South Carolina Tennessee's signals before that game when they scored 63 points, derailed Tennessee's championship run. What do you make of that theory? Any legitimacy to it?
One of the dozens of conspiracies that are out there. I have never had a discussion with any SEC team.
You sure about that?
There's one. I've had one discussion in my life with an SEC team regarding signals, and that was back in, I believe, 2019 when we played Alabama in the Citrus Bowl, and like teams trade signals, and it was one of those where I forget what the SEC team was, but they were playing a.
Then why did you buy a Tennessee ticket? What was the purpose of that? But I don't want to interrupt him. He's a truth teller,
Most SEC Big Ten, bowl games, there's usually 4 of them every bowl season. And, I don't know who it was, but, someone was probably playing like a Wisconsin or a Penn State. And I say, hey, well, I have their stuff if you have Bama stuff, and made a little trade. I've not talked to, I've never met anyone at South Carolina. I'll also say this about Tennessee too. Joe Milton, I'd ask Joe Milton and Hendon Hooker. They know the truth, and they. I
think we've already heard from Joe. Let me see what it was he said. Oh yeah, that's right. He put this on Instagram. Y'all cheated. That's a South Carolina player right there. But I interrupted the truth teller. Let him continue.
I'm tight with both of them. There was no.
He's tight with both of them.
Trying to screw over Tennessee. I'll also say this. I guess my third point is, let's just say I had everything on a team. Why would I not want to play them in the playoffs? Why would I?
It's true.
Like I'd rather.
You want them to win if you have this.
Yeah. If
this is one of the best diversions I've ever seen. Connor, that was great right there, what you did. But here's the problem. See, I know why you had Tennessee signs. It was not for one reason. It was for 2. And the first reason was the most important. You've tricked Mr. Chris Vanini here. And I don't blame him. I would have thought the same thing if I didn't know what I know. See, I've done the in-depth research on this, and I know why you did it.
In my opinion, allegedly.
I know why, and I'm going to tell you in a minute. But let him finish it up.
If I had everything on Tennessee, which I've never watched any Tennessee film to try to decipher signals, I do know they're up tempo, and I'm.
What did you buy the ticket for?
I'm not going to speculate on whether they steal signals or not. I don't know. I don't know much about Tennessee other than the fact that they're very, wide splits, up-tempo team, snapping the ball within 8 seconds of the previous play. But in theory, it could be Tennessee, it could be anyone. If I had a team signals and felt so confident that it's this competitive advantage that's going to cause a whatever the margin was in that South Carolina game. Why would I want another team to do it rather than us?
See, this is what somebody who's really good at BS does. They do the little diversion. Well, why would I do that if it could help me to have the signs for myself? I'll tell you exactly why, big boy. You think I'm stupid? I'm not. The reason you did it is clear and present. You were undefeated at the time. Ohio State was undefeated at the time. Tennessee had one loss. Tennessee had an amazing strength of schedule. They had beaten Alabama. They had beaten LSU at home. They had beaten Florida, so on and so forth. They had destroyed several teams by 30 points. They had the number one offense in the country. And guess what would have happened if you got beat by an undefeated Ohio State? What would have happened, Michigan? You'd have had one loss, and then they'd have had to look at strength of schedule. And guess whose strength of schedule was way above yours? Take a wild guess. I'll give you a second while I pull it up. Oh my. Strength of schedule, Tennessee, number 2 in the country. Michigan, even after all 12 games, which would have been the key, they were number 8. So if you'd have had one loss and Tennessee had one loss, Tennessee would have been ranked ahead of you. And here's the problem. There was only 4 spots available. There wasn't 12 like there are now. With only 4, you'd have got kicked out. And you wouldn't have been in the playoff, so it wouldn't have mattered if you had Tennessee signs and signals, because you wouldn't have been playing them.
Oh, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
So you had to do what you could to ensure that Michigan had the best chance to get in. And you bragged about that on Bussin' Boys, how you loved to knock other teams out of the way. You loved it. You bragged about it. Oh, I'll get the signs over this way through a third party. I'll change the header on the paper so it looks like it came from another school is what you said. Oh, you're tricky. So it made perfect sense for you to get that ticket, figure out the signs and signals like you did for all these other clubs, obviously, and then, well, wow, there's one team that's playing 2 teams that could knock us out of the playoff, which would have been Tennessee and Clemson. And according to Pete Thamel, yeah, right here, journalist Pete Thamel, Connor purchased tickets involving teams like Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Oregon, and according to Yahoo Sports, he bought a ticket to Tennessee's 2022 game where Tennessee beat the dog crap out of Kentucky, but he transferred the ticket to someone else, I guess somebody to go in there that was within viewing range of the Tennessee sideline and the coaching staff's signals.
The sign stealer guy.
So it's important to note that Stallions didn't attend the game himself, but transferred the ticket to an associate. Tennessee won 44-6, was ranked number 1 in the initial college football playoff rankings a few days later. Oh, and by the way, when you do that, when you scout future opponents, it's a violation, NCAA. It's a level 1. You're also not allowed to record them, but you did that too. Of course, we all know there was 6 level 1 violations that were aggravated. Now, let's get into the fact of, is Connor honest? Maybe he is. I don't know. Let's check and see. You got to have some evidence, right? And speaking of Pete Thamel, some details in the 74-page NCAA report Connor Stalions called the advanced scouting team as both counterintelligence and the KGB. He also admitted to throwing his phone in the pond. Well, let's get into that a little bit, okay? It says in that report, his conduct following his separation from Michigan hindered the enforcement staff's investigative efforts in numerous ways. In a November 9, 2023 recorded phone call between Stalions and student athlete 1, Stalions told him that his personal phone was shattered in 1,000 pieces under a pond. Stalions also said they don't have hard drives of the film. My film is in the bottom of the pond. Destroying evidence, huh? When asked about it later on in the hearing, if he disposed of his phone in the pond, Stalions stated that he received significant backlash and that's why he threw it in the pond. Had to get a new number, he said. So he just got rid of the phone and moved on. What'd you throw it in the pond for? At the hearing, Stalions was also asked when he failed to preserve relevant materials when he disposed of the phone. He replied, I can't answer no to that. Don't know the exact date of when he threw it in the pond, but he says it was approximately a week after it broke, probably the next day. Said during that same phone call, Stallions also asked student athlete 1 to provide false information to the enforcement staff related to his role in the scheme. The source of Stallions' stolen signals and any knowledge of Stallions' hard drives containing film. Specifically, Stallions told student athlete 1, again, if you just stick to that story, you're good. Whatever you say is your story, and that's going to be what the truth is. This is also not the court of law. You can technically lie your ass off. Huh. You can technically lie your ass off. Huh. It's not a court of law. Let me think here. Let me check something real quick. Make sure I got this right. Let's see. Yeah, the bunch formation. I don't see a judge, a jury, or anything. I guess that's not a court of law either, is it, Connor? Huh. So you know what? I'm sitting here thinking, if you're just on media, getting a little interview, that's really not a court of law. So I guess you could lie your ass off, couldn't you? And then you could divert and say, oh, well, why would I give away those signs? Because you might not have even had a chance to play Tennessee. That's why. If you'd have got beat by Ohio State, which had a huge run on y'all, 15 out of 16 years they'd beaten you, until you showed up in 2021 with your famous magical sign stealing and turned it on its head. But Ohio State was undefeated. You were worried. It's like, crap, we lose this game, we're out of the playoff. But what if Tennessee had 2 losses? Then all of a sudden, even if we lose, we're still in. See, that's that's going a little next step. That's what I know about you, Connor. I know you're playing chess, and you're trying to act like you're playing checkers, and you're not. You're playing chess. He's not dumb. Connor's not dumb. I've never accused him of that. Not the most honest fella. His mouth is not a prayer book.
Never lie, never cheat, never steal. I was raised with that lesson.
Now let's see if he's ever been disingenuous about anything else. Let's check, okay? I think that's a good idea. Usually when you have a person up here telling you something, you probably ought to know their history. Are they pretty good at telling the truth or not? Let's just check. Little second check. See, I've already checked it once with the whole you can lie your ass off. Now let's check on something else that's kind of important. Connor Stallions has spoken for the first time about the MSU Central Michigan sideline situation without a clear answer. He said, I don't even think this guy looks like me, when he held up the picture of himself on the Netflix documentary. He also told the NCAA he couldn't recall being there. This is a guy that supposedly memorized 3,000 signs, but he couldn't remember if he put on Central Michigan's shirt, hat, had his special little glasses and all of that. Just couldn't remember. God, doesn't even look like me. What are you talking about? Come on, people.
2 hours later.
Connor Stallions tells me he was asked by Chris Vanini, asked by Central Michigan to be on their sideline. The NCAA report said he was there to help CMU and also get signals. Let's see here.
Do you have a pair of Meta Ray-Ban glasses that may or may not have
there are so many conspiracies and rumors that started from that. The one thing I'll say, and I know there's been reports recently that came out about why I was there, and Central asked me to be there to help. We had submitted to the NCAA, exactly why I was there. I've never denied me being at that game. So we submitted that to the NCAA. They know exactly why I was at that game.
But you couldn't remember. That guy didn't even look like you. But we're supposed to believe you now. You know what? I don't think I will. I'm going to make the decision not to believe you based on history. Usually when the little boy cries wolf over and over and over and over, or the sky is falling, after a while you're like, he wasn't right about that first thing. He wasn't right about it. As a matter of fact, he intentionally misled me. Twice. Huh. And on multiple other things too, it appears. Why would I believe anything? At some point when somebody shows you who they are, you might want to believe them on that. That's the one thing you can believe, what they show you, their actions. Not, oh, well, I wouldn't do that. No, I don't know. Tennessee, what are you talking about? I just bought that ticket for the fun of it. And I bought those other tickets too, just for the fun of it, just because, I do stuff like that. I'm on a $60,000 salary and I'm going to spend $55,000 on tickets. Makes sense. I would do that, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you spend 90% of your income before taxes on buying just random tickets to other games that you aren't even going to attend? Oh, and how'd they pay for the transportation and the lodging down there? How'd they get the money for that, Connor? Huh? Why don't you answer that question? Where'd you get the money? Oh, that's right. You were selling used vacuum cleaners. I keep forgetting that. And you sold your house. What was I thinking? I totally forgot about that too. That's where that money came from. Vacuum cleaners.
I said, don't disturb you. I'm cleaning my room.
I got a mountain of circumstantial evidence about Mr. Connor Stallions and South Carolina and all that. And of course, Beamer has his history of being fined $25,000 for taking information from other teams that he wasn't supposed to. And I can go down that list where South Carolina had scored 16 points against Missouri and Florida total, and then all of a sudden scored 9 straight touchdowns.
9 times.
9 times.
Yeah, 9 straight, 63 points. Scored an average of 8 points against Missouri and Florida, 2 sub-500 teams that year. They played Tennessee, a playoff-bound team. They scored 63. Amazing. Anyway, I mean, we could talk about that all day. All the different things that happened in that ball game that made no sense. But here's the thing. NCAA is not going to do anything anyway. They proved that with Michigan. A $35 million fine, no postseason ban, no games vacated, got to keep the natty. NCAA's done. Their history. It doesn't matter. And really, Michigan ought to hire him back. Let him start stealing signs again. They're not going to do anything to you. You don't even have to pay the $35 million. What are they going to do if you don't pay it? Give you a bowl ban? They can't do anything. They're done. They're finished. They're toast. Everybody knows it. So it really doesn't matter. He got away with it. Yeah, he got a show cause, but crap, they can still hire you back. They just got a show cause. You know what the cause is? Because we want to win. We want those signals and signs. Can't hardly do it anymore, though, because it's in helmet. That's a problem. You'd have to, well, he might figure it out, though. Anybody can write a more than 600-page manifesto about Michigan football and how to win natties, can probably figure that out. So I'm not going to put it past him. He's not a dumb guy. I will say that. But his mouth is, and I'll repeat this, his mouth is not a prayer book. And folks, this is my opinion. That's what it is. And I've got one. And I'm going to do another show today, by the way. This wasn't the only, they just popped up out of nowhere. All of a sudden, he won't shut up. That's fine. I had to do a show on it. I'll be doing another show later today. This was not what I was planning on doing, but Connor popped up, so had to do it. If you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, boom, and boom. It's Connor approved. Subscribe. And right over here's the most recent video. YouTube, thanks, you'll enjoy. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay. Connor, you did it. You won a natty. You are the assistant coach analyst of the year.
Congratulations. You played yourself.